The battlefield was silent now. Smoke still rose from broken machines and the ground was black with ashes. Human soldiers stood in lines, their armor scratched and burned, but their eyes sharp and ready. Victory was theirs today. The alien invaders had been pushed back. But among the ruins, one figure knelt on the ground. She was not like the other aliens, tall and cruel with armor and weapons. This one was different. Her clothes were torn, her wrists chained, and her body shook with fear. She was a captured alien woman. 2 soldiers dragged her forward and threw her at the feet of the commander. She fell hard, her face against the dirt. For a moment, she did not move. The soldiers laughed bitterly. To them, she was just another enemy, one more prisoner of war. But then, the woman lifted her head. Her eyes were wide, full of terror, and her voice broke the silence of the field. "Have mercy. Please," she cried, her words rough but clear. "I'll bear you strong children. Just let me live." The words cut through the air like a blade. Every soldier froze. Even the commander's hard face twitched in shock. No one expected this. The humans had heard screams of war, threats of destruction, shouts of hatred. But this was a plea, a desperate bargain for life. One soldier spat on the ground. "Pathetic trick. She's trying to fool us." Another muttered, "Look at her. She's begging like a slave. Maybe she's telling the truth." The commander said nothing. His eyes, cold as steel, stared down at the alien woman. She looked back at him, trembling, her lips still moving. "Please, don't kill me. I can give you what you want. Strong children. My people are bred for war, but I want peace." Her voice cracked, heavy with fear. The soldiers shifted, uneasily. This was not the enemy they had fought. The enemy they knew was merciless, burning cities, destroying colonies, killing without thought. Yet here, kneeling before them, was one who begged for life, offering herself like a servant. The commander's hand rested on his weapon. One move and her life would end. That was the law of war, but something stopped him. He looked closer at her. Her face carried scars not just from battle but from years of suffering. Her body was thin, weak, not the form of a warrior. Her words were not only fear, they carried a deep truth, as if she had been forced into this war against her will. One soldier whispered, "Sir, she's dangerous. Kill her now before she tricks us." Another answered, "But sir, what if she speaks the truth? What if she is not like the others?" The commander's silence stretched like a knife edge. The woman crawled closer, her chains dragging against the stones. "Have mercy," she whispered again, her voice breaking. "I don't want to die. I don't want to be their tool anymore." The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. A tool? What did she mean? The commander's jaw tightened. He crouched down, his shadow falling over her. "You beg for mercy," he said slowly. "But why should I give it? Your kind burned our homes. They killed our children. Why should you live when so many of ours are dead?" The woman trembled, her forehead pressed against the ground. "Because I had no choice. Because I was forced to fight. Because my life was never mine. If you kill me, I go back to them in death. If you spare me, maybe I can finally be free." The silence grew heavy. Even the smoke seemed to pause in the air. The commander stood again, his eyes locked on her. For the first time, he felt something strange. Doubt. Was she lying? Was this another alien trick to survive? Or was this the first sign that their enemy was not one monster but a people, some cruel, some broken, some desperate to escape? Behind him, the soldiers grew restless. "What's your order, sir?" one asked sharply. The commander did not answer. He turned his gaze back to the alien woman, who now pressed her chained hands together as if in prayer. "Have mercy," she begged once more, her voice faint but burning with desperation. "I'll give you strong children, but please don't let me die like this." The words echoed in every soldier's mind. Some felt disgust. Others felt pity. But all of them, knew one thing: this moment was different. This was not just war anymore. This was a choice that could change everything. And as the sun sank behind the smoking horizon, the commander's decision hung in the air like a blade about to fall. Would he grant her mercy, or end her life where she knelt? The answer would shape not only her fate, but perhaps the future of both species. The alien woman's desperate plea hung in the air like smoke after a fire. Soldiers shifted in their boots, waiting for their commander to give the order. Some wanted blood, others wanted answers. But the commander stood silent, his face hard, his eyes unreadable. This was not the first time he had faced an enemy prisoner. Normally his decision was quick: kill or lock away, simple choices in the chaos of war. But this woman was different. She had not shouted threats or curses. She had begged. She had offered herself not as a fighter, but as something else. Something fragile, something almost human. The commander finally spoke, his voice low but sharp. "Take her to the holding tent." A murmur of surprise rippled through the soldiers. One man stepped forward, his jaw tight. "Sir, with respect, this is a mistake. She's the enemy. If you let her live, she could escape, or worse, spy on us." Another soldier snapped. "Or lead their fleet right to us." The commander's eyes narrowed. "My order is clear. She will not be executed. Not yet." The soldiers obeyed, though their eyes were filled with doubt. They dragged the woman to a temporary camp at the edge of the battlefield. The humans had set up metal tents, guarded day and night. She was thrown into one, her chains clinking against the floor. But even in the darkness of the tent, her words would not leave the commander's mind. "Have mercy. I'll bear you strong children." He walked away from the camp, but the echo of her plea followed him. It was not the promise of children that disturbed him. It was the tone, the fear, the quiet desperation. Later, in the commander's tent, his closest advisors gathered. Maps covered the table. Red marks showed the territories humans had lost. Blue marks showed the alien advance. The war had been long, bloody, and without mercy. One advisor, a stern officer with a scar across his face, spoke first. "She must be killed. Quickly. We cannot risk her presence here. If the enemy learns she is alive, they will come for her." Another, younger and softer, shook his head. "But sir, what if she's telling the truth? What if she really was forced to fight? Keeping her alive could teach us something about their species." The scarred officer slammed his fist on the table. "Naive fool, you want to listen to her lies. These creatures burned our colonies. They slaughtered our people. Do you think they feel mercy? No. They only know domination." The younger officer's voice rose, shaking but firm. "And yet, did you see her? She was not proud. She was not fierce. She was broken. That is not the face of a soldier. That is the face of someone enslaved." The tent grew quiet. All eyes turned to the commander. He sat in silence, his hand resting on the map, but his mind far away, in the memory of her scarred face, her trembling body, her whispered plea. For the first time, doubt spread inside him like a seed. Later that night, when the campfires burned low and most soldiers slept, the commander walked alone to the prisoner's tent. 2 guards stood outside, stiff and alert. "Open it," the commander ordered. The guards hesitated, but they obeyed. The flap lifted, and the commander stepped inside. The alien woman sat in the corner, her knees drawn to her chest, her chains heavy on her wrists. Her eyes lifted when she saw him, wide and uncertain. She did not move closer, but her lips parted, whispering softly. "You came," the commander studied her. "Why do you beg for mercy? Why should a human spare you?" Her voice shook, but she forced herself to speak. "Because I never wanted this war. My people, they chose for me. They gave me no choice. They take females, like me, and force us to breed, to make stronger soldiers, to feed the war. I was only a body to them, a tool." Her words hit him harder than any blade. He stared at her, searching for signs of deception, but saw only pain. She lowered her head. When your soldiers caught me, I thought it was the end. But maybe it can be freedom. If you kill me now, at least I won't go back to them. But if you let me live, I can give you something they never will." The commander's jaw tightened. "And what is that?" She looked up, her eyes shining with tears. "Loyalty. A chance to understand us, a chance to stop this war. My life is worthless to them, but it could mean something here." The commander's heart remained a wall of stone, but cracks began to show. Her voice was not the voice of a warrior, but of someone crushed by chains invisible to the human eye. He turned to leave, but her final words stopped him. "Mercy is your strength. That is why your people fight so hard. If you show it now, you will be stronger than my kind ever was." The commander stepped out into the night. The stars burned above, silent witnesses to his turmoil. The dilemma weighed heavy: execute her as the enemy or protect her as a victim. Either choice could bring ruin. Either choice could change the war. And as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, the commander knew one thing: the real battle was no longer on the field. It was inside his own heart. The dawn rose over the camp, painting the sky red and gold. Soldiers moved through the ruins, collecting weapons, cleaning armor, and burying the dead. But inside the commander's mind, there was no peace. The alien woman's words from the night before echoed endlessly. I was only a tool, a body, a prisoner of my own people. He had seen many enemies beg before, but none had spoken like that. None had carried such scars inside and out. The commander ordered her brought to the central tent. The soldiers obeyed, dragging her forward, with her chains. They threw her down in front of him, rough and careless. She did not resist. She only raised her eyes, calm but tired. The commander stared at her. Around him, his officers waited for his judgment. "Speak," he said coldly. "Tell us everything. If you are lying, you die here. If you tell the truth, maybe you live." The alien woman lowered her head. Her voice was soft but clear. "My people are not as strong as they seem. The warriors you fight, the ships you face, they are made, not born. The leaders breed us like cattle. They take females from birth and decide our fate. Some are given to war, some are given to breeding. We do not choose. We do not live free." The tent grew still. Even the hardest soldiers listened. She continued, her chains clinking as she shifted. "I was chosen as a breeder. My body was meant to create soldiers, not to live a life of my own. But when the war grew desperate, they forced us, breeders, weak and untrained, onto the battlefield. We were no longer mothers-to-be, we were weapons to be thrown away." Her voice broke on the last words. The younger officer who had defended her in Part 2 leaned forward. "You mean, you never wanted to fight us?" Her eyes glistened. "No, none of us wanted this. But if we refused, we were beaten. If we ran, we were hunted. I fought because I had no choice. I killed because I wanted to survive." The scarred officer slammed his fist on the table. "Lies, this is their way. Twist the truth, make us pity them. Next she will claim her people are innocent children." The commander raised his hand. Silence fell. His eyes never left the woman. "If what you say is true," he said slowly, "then why offer us children? Why beg in such a way?" Her gaze dropped, shame and sorrow heavy in her face. "Because that is all I was ever taught, that my worth is in my body, that mercy can only be bought with life or birth. When I begged, it was not because I wished to serve you as a slave. It was because I had nothing else to offer. No power. No weapon. Only myself." Her words cut through the tent like a blade. For the first time, many soldiers saw her not as a monster, but as something painfully close to themselves, a victim of chains they could not see. The commander leaned back, his hand pressed against the table. His heart was steady, but his mind churned like a storm. "Why should we believe you?" he asked. The alien woman lifted her chin. "Because I have proof." A murmur of surprise ran through the officers. "Proof?" Her trembling hands reached for the edge of her torn clothing. Slowly, she revealed the marks carved into her skin, brands, symbols burned deep by fire. The soldiers leaned closer, disgusted. "These marks," she whispered, "are not for honor. They are numbers. Each female is given one. It shows her rank, her purpose. I am marked as a breeder. That is all I was ever meant to be." The commander's jaw tightened. The sight of the burns filled him with anger, though he did not show. Yet the younger officer whispered, "Sir, she's telling the truth." The scarred officer still growled, but even his voice lacked strength now. The alien woman lowered her arm, hiding the scars again. Her voice grew softer, almost broken. "I beg not because I am weak, but because I am tired. Tired of being nothing. Tired of being used. If you kill me, I die as they made me. If you let me live, maybe I can die one day as something else. Free." The commander's chest rose and fell with slow breaths. For years, he had seen the enemy as monsters, but this woman had cracked that picture wide open. The dilemma deepened. If she was telling the truth, sparing her might reveal secrets about the enemy. But keeping her alive would risk everything: the soldiers' trust, the camp's safety, even the course of the war. Finally, the commander spoke. "You will remain alive for now. But know this: if you betray us, your death will be quick." The alien woman bowed her head. "I understand." The tent emptied, but the commander remained seated, staring at the table without seeing it. He had expected lies, but instead he had been given truth, truth that shook the very foundation of the war. And as the night fell once again over the camp, one thought burned inside him. If their enemies made slaves of their own, then perhaps humanity was not fighting monsters, but prisoners forced to kill in chains. The hidden truth had been revealed, but it was only the beginning. The night in the human camp was quiet, but not peaceful. Soldiers sat around fires, sharpening blades, cleaning rifles, and whispering about the alien woman. Some spat when her name was mentioned. Others kept their voices low, wondering if maybe, just maybe, her words were true. Inside the commander's tent, the debate had not ended. His officers argued long into the night. "She's lying," one soldier growled. "Her kind are devils. We've seen what they do. Villages burned, children slaughtered. You want to pity her? Next she'll stab us in our sleep." The younger officer who had listened to her earlier stood tall. "You saw her scars. You heard her voice. That was not the voice of a warrior. That was the voice of a slave." The scarred officer cut in, his voice sharp as steel. "Slaves or not, they chose war. They came to our worlds. They killed our people. She's one of them. Mercy here will only bring death tomorrow." The commander sat in silence, his eyes on the table, his mind turning like gears in a machine. He had faced many battles, but none like this. War on the field was simple: shoot or be shot, strike or fall. But this war inside the heart, this struggle of mercy and vengeance, was far more dangerous. At last, he stood. "Enough. Tomorrow she will be examined. If she speaks the truth, we will know. If she lies, I will end it myself." The matter was closed, but unease filled the air like smoke. The next morning, the alien woman was brought to the medical tent. A human doctor, gray-haired and tired but kind, studied her with careful eyes. He was not a soldier. He was a healer. He checked her body, her scars, the burns carved into her skin. His hand shook with anger as he traced the marks. "These aren't the marks of war," he muttered. "These are brands. She's telling the truth." The commander stood nearby, arms folded, watching. "Can you prove it?" The doctor nodded, slowly. "Yes. These burns are old, years old. No warrior would carry such marks. This is ownership. She was owned." The alien woman sat still, her eyes downcast, as if ashamed of the truth written on her body. The doctor placed a cloth over her shoulders, covering the scars again. "She's malnourished, weak and broken," the doctor said. "If she was meant to fight, they never trained her. They used her, just as she said. A silence filled the tent. Soldiers who had come to watch shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away. Others clenched their fists, confused by the storm of anger and pity rising inside them. The commander's eyes narrowed. He wanted clarity, but all he found was more doubt. He stepped closer, his voice low but sharp. If you hate them so much, why not betray them? Give us what we need to win, prove you are not our enemy. The alien woman raised her head slowly. Her eyes glistened, but her voice was steady. Because if I give you their secrets, more of my people will die. And though they enslaved me, they are still my people. I want peace, not more blood. The soldiers around her muttered angrily. One shouted, Then she's useless. Kill her now. But the commander held up his hand. His gaze locked on her, searching for weakness, for deceit. Yet all he saw was a strange strength, a strength not of power but of survival. Peace, he repeated under his breath. The word felt foreign, almost impossible, after so many years of war. That night, the commander could not sleep. He walked the camp in silence, the stars above cold and distant. He passed groups of soldiers, their whispers cutting into the night. She'll betray us. She's innocent. She's dangerous. She's broken. Every voice pulled him in a different direction. He felt the weight of command heavier than ever before. When he returned to his tent, he found the alien woman awake in her cage, her eyes fixed on the stars beyond the bars. Why do you look at the sky? He asked quietly. She did not flinch at his voice. Because it is the only place without chains. No one owns the stars. The words struck him deeper than he expected. He stood there for a long time, silent, watching her. But then, a noise split. The night. A deep, low hum, unnatural and sharp. The soldiers ran to their weapons, their eyes scanning the skies. Lights blinked in the distance. Ships. Alien ships. The enemy had returned. The camp erupted in chaos. Orders were shouted. Rifles loaded, defenses raised. The soldiers looked to their commander for orders. And in the middle of the storm stood the alien woman, her chains rattling, her eyes wide with fear. They've come, she whispered. They know I am here. They will not stop until I am theirs. Again. The commander felt the fire of battle rise inside him, but his heart also tightened with a truth he could no longer deny. Sparing her had drawn danger. Mercy had invited the enemy. Now he had to choose, not only how to fight, but how to protect the very thing that divided his people. Would she become their greatest weakness or their greatest strength? The alarm bells rang through the camp. Soldiers scrambled into formation, weapons raised, eyes scanning the night sky. Above them, dark shapes cut through the clouds, alien ships, their engines glowing like fire. The enemy had returned, and everyone knew why. They've come for her, one soldier shouted. The commander stood tall at the front lines, his hand on his weapon, his jaw tight. His gaze shifted to the prisoner's cage. Inside, the alien woman clutched her chains, her eyes wide with terror. She whispered almost to herself, They won't stop, not until I am theirs again. The soldiers' voices rose in anger. This is her fault. Kill her before they land. She's a curse on us all. The commander raised his hand, silencing them. His voice was steady, though his heart raged. No one touches her. We fight the enemy, not a prisoner. The soldiers obeyed, but the air was thick with doubt. The alien ships circled above, their shadows swallowing the camp in darkness. A booming voice echoed from the sky, carried through some unseen speaker. Return what is ours. Return the breeder, or be destroyed. The soldiers tightened their grips on their rifles. Fear and fury rippled through them. Some stared at the commander, waiting for him to surrender her. Others whispered, We'll never give in. The commander's eyes narrowed. We hold the line. We don't surrender to monsters. But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. Could they survive another assault? The enemy ships were larger, stronger, and filled with soldiers bred for war. The alien woman pressed against the bars of her cage, her voice breaking. If they take me back, I will be nothing but a slave again. Please, don't let them. I'd rather die here than return to them. Her words struck the commander like a blade. She was no soldier. She was no weapon. Yet the enemy wanted her badly enough to risk a battle. That could only mean one thing: she carried something they feared or desired. The ground shook. Enemy troops descended from the ships, armored and armed, their glowing eyes cutting through the darkness. The humans opened fire. The night exploded. With gunfire, plasma bolts, and screams, the commander fought at the front, his rifle blazing. But even as he struck down enemy soldiers, his mind stayed fixed on the woman in chains. Why was she so important? What secret did she hold? Inside the cage, the alien woman trembled. Her body felt strange, alive with something she could not control. Her skin glowed faintly, a light hidden beneath the surface. She clutched her chest, gasping. "No, not now," she whispered. The battle outside raged, but inside her something far greater was awakening. A group of enemy soldiers broke through the human defenses, heading straight for her cage. The guards fired, but the attackers moved with inhuman speed. The woman screamed, a sound raw with fear and pain. The glow beneath her skin spread, racing along her arms, her face, her eyes. Her chains rattled violently as if struck by unseen force. Then, with a blinding flash, the chains shattered. The soldiers froze, staring in shock. The alien woman rose slowly, her body glowing like fire in the night. Her eyes burned with a strange light, not of fear, but of something far older, far stronger. She looked at the enemy soldiers rushing toward her, and with a cry that shook the air, a wave of energy burst from her body. The attackers were thrown back, their armor smoking, their weapons broken. Silence fell for a moment as both sides stared at her in disbelief. The commander turned, his eyes wide. "What? Are you?" The alien woman's breath came heavy, her glowing form flickering like a dying flame. This is what they wanted me for. This power. It was buried in me, locked away. They wanted to use it to breed stronger soldiers. They wanted to control it, but I could never awaken it. Until now. The soldiers looked at one another in fear and awe. Some whispered, "She's a weapon." Others said, "She saved us." The scarred officer snarled, "You see, she's dangerous. A monster hiding in chains." But the younger officer shook his head. "No. If she meant to kill us, she would have done it. She used her power to protect us." The commander's mind raced. Everything was changing. The woman was no longer just a prisoner. She was something far greater. A key. A weapon. Or maybe a hope. The alien ships roared above, preparing another strike. The woman's glow dimmed as exhaustion hit her. She fell to her knees, her body trembling. The commander rushed forward, catching her before she collapsed fully. Her voice was weak, but her words burned with truth. "You asked why you should spare me. This is why. Because if you kill me, they win. But if you protect me, maybe we can end them." The commander held her steady, his jaw tight. Around him, his soldiers waited, torn between fear and hope. The battle was far from over, but something had changed. The woman was no longer just a prisoner, nor a bargaining chip. She was awakening into something no one could ignore. And as the enemy ships prepared their next strike, the commander faced a choice sharper than ever. Destroy her or stand by her side. One path meant safety. The other meant a risk that could change the future of the war, and maybe the galaxy itself. The night sky burned with fire as alien ships unleashed their fury. Explosions shook the ground, throwing men from their feet, ripping holes through the camp's defenses. Human soldiers shouted orders, their weapons blazing against the tide of invaders. But all eyes, even in the chaos, kept drifting back to the woman who had shattered her chains. She still knelt, her body faintly glowing, her chest rising and falling with exhaustion. Some soldiers looked at her with awe, others with fear. The scarred officer's voice cut through the gunfire. "She's brought this on us. If we hand her over, they'll leave," the younger officer snapped back. "You fool, did you not see she fought for us?" Without her, those soldiers would have cut through our lines already. Their voices clashed, But above them, the alien fleet spoke again, their command booming like thunder. Return the breeder, return her now, or your world will burn. Chuck. Word spread through the camp like poison. Some soldiers faltered, their courage breaking. Others shouted in defiance. The commander stood in the middle, his face carved from stone, his decision unspoken. The alien woman forced herself to stand. Her glow flickered weakly, but her eyes were steady. She looked at the commander, her voice strained but firm. If you give me back, I will be used again. They will breed me until I am nothing but a hollow shell. Then they will make stronger soldiers, an endless army. If you return me, you don't save your people. You doom them. The commander studied her, his mind torn between reason and instinct. Every choice carried blood. The scarred officer growled. Sir, we cannot hold against their fleet. Hand her over. Save your men. But the younger officer stepped forward, his voice burning with conviction. Sir, if we betray her now, we are no better than the monsters who enslaved her. The camp fell into silence, all waiting for the commander's word. Before he could answer, the enemy attacked again. Alien troops poured from their ships like a flood, their armor shining under the firelight. Plasma fire lit the battlefield. Screams filled the air. The commander roared, "Hold the line!" and charged forward, his rifle blazing. The soldiers followed, their fear turning into fire. The battle raged. Humans fought desperately, but the enemy was relentless. Step by step, they pushed closer to the camp, closer to the cage that no longer held its prisoner. The alien woman clutched her chest, feeling the strange energy stir inside her again. It burned, hot and wild, begging to be released. She knew. It was dangerous. Every time it woke, it left her weaker. But if she did nothing, the humans who had spared her would die. She stepped forward, her voice breaking through the chaos. Stay back! A pulse of light burst from her, pushing enemy soldiers off their feet. Humans gasped, stunned. She stood glowing like a beacon in the night, her power turning the tide for a moment. But the enemy commander, watching from the ship above, only smiled. His voice boomed across the battlefield. You think she is your savior? She is ours. Her power belongs to us. Return her and you may live. The alien woman shouted back, her voice shaking with rage. I am not yours. I was never yours. The enemy commander's laugh was cruel. You will come back to us, willingly or broken. At his signal, the alien ships descended lower. Massive cannons powered up, their glow painting the sky. One strike and the camp would be reduced to ash. The human soldiers faltered. Some dropped their weapons in despair. Even the bravest faces went pale. The scarred officer turned desperately to the commander. Sir, it's over. Give her up. One, life for hundreds. What choice is there? The younger officer shouted. No! If we give her back, we lose more than this battle. We lose our soul. The camp split into two voices, fear demanding her surrender, courage demanding her protection. The commander's eyes locked on the alien woman. She was trembling, her glow flickering weakly, but in her eyes burned something stronger than power. Defiance. She whispered, almost too soft to hear. Please, don't let them take me. If I return, there will be no end to this war. The war commander's heart pounded. He saw the soldiers around him waiting for his word. He saw the alien fleet above ready to destroy them all. And he saw her, no longer a prisoner, no longer a tool, but a choice that could shape the future. His hand tightened on his weapon. His voice rose above the battlefield, clear and commanding. She stays with us. The camp erupted. Some soldiers cheered, others shouted in fury. The alien fleet roared, preparing their strike. The enemy commander's voice thundered one last time. Then you will burn with her. The cannons lit up, the sky turning white, and, at that moment, the alien woman collapsed, her body glowing brighter than ever before. The ground trembled, and a storm of energy built inside her, wild and unstoppable. The commander reached for her, shouting, "What's happening?" Her voice was faint, almost lost in the roar of power. If I unleash this, I don't know what will happen. but it may be the only way to save you. The battlefield froze in suspense. The fate of the humans, the prisoner, and perhaps the galaxy itself hung on the edge of her awakening. The battlefield glowed with terrible light. The alien fleet's cannons powered up above, ready to erase the camp. Human soldiers crouched behind ruined walls, their faces pale, their breaths shallow. The air was thick with fear. At the center of it all, the alien woman knelt on the ground, her body shaking. A brilliant glow pulsed beneath her skin, brighter and brighter as if a star had been trapped inside her. The commander stood by her side, his hand gripping her shoulder. "What are you doing?" he demanded. Her voice was faint but steady. I'm choosing. For the first time in my life, I am choosing." The commander's heart pounded. He had seen many weapons in his life, but nothing like this. She was no simple prisoner now. She was a storm waiting to break. The enemy commander's voice thundered from the ships above. "Return her or die where you stand." The scarred officer shouted over the roar. "Sir, it's too late. If she unleashes that power, she'll kill us too. Hand her over." But the younger officer pointed at her glowing form. "No, she is not the enemy. She is the key. If she fights, for us, maybe we survive this night." The soldiers looked to their commander, their faith and fear colliding. He alone could decide. Deliver her to the enemy or stand with her against certain destruction. The commander's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "We don't hand over the innocent. Not today. Not ever." The soldiers roared in response, their courage reigniting. Even those who doubted could not resist the fire in his voice. The alien woman raised her hands. The glow spread wider, wrapping her in a halo of light. Her chains lay broken on the ground, forgotten. Her eyes, once filled with fear, now burned with fierce resolve. She whispered, "I was their slave. I was their tool, but no more. Tonight, I am free." The ground trembled. Energy burst outward, forming a shimmering barrier around the camp. The enemy ships fired, their cannons blazing, but the blasts slammed into the barrier and broke apart like waves against stone. The humans gasped in disbelief. They had seen her weakness. They had heard her pleas. But now they saw her power, a power greater than any weapon. The enemy commander roared in fury. "Foolish girl! That power belongs to us. Without us, you are nothing." Her voice rang out across the battlefield, clear and unshaken. "Without you, I am myself." The glow flared brighter than the alien ship's cannons. Energy swept through the enemy ranks, throwing soldiers into the air, tearing apart their formations. Ships shuddered, their engines failing under the storm. Human soldiers rallied, charging forward with renewed strength. For the first time, they were not fighting alone. They were fighting with her. But the power tore at her body. Her knees buckled. Her breath came in gasps. The commander caught her before she fell. "Stop," he urged. "You'll destroy yourself." She shook her head weakly. "If I stop, they win. If I fall, they take me back. I would rather burn than live in chains." Her words struck him deeper than any wound. He saw not a weapon, not a tool, but a being who had suffered enough. And for the first time in his long years of war, he felt something stronger than duty. He felt mercy. He gripped her trembling hands, his voice low but fierce. "Then you will not fall alone. If you burn, we burn with you, but you will not return to them." Her eyes filled with tears, not of sorrow, but of gratitude. The last wave of energy burst forth, a storm of light that lit the entire sky. The alien fleet shattered. Ships spun out of control, crashing into the distant hills. The soldiers who remained fled into the night, broken and leaderless. Silence followed. Smoke rose from the battlefield. The humans stood in shock, staring at the woman who had saved them all. She collapsed at last, the glow fading from her body. The commander caught her in his arms. Her breathing was shallow, but she was alive. "You did it," he whispered. "You stopped them." Her lips curved into a faint, weary smile. "No, we stopped them. Together." The scarred officer approached, his eyes wide. his voice uncertain. "Sir, what is she?" The commander looked down at her, then back at his men. His words were firm. "She is not what they called her. Not a breeder. Not a tool. She is a person, and she is under my protection." Some soldiers nodded slowly. Others still looked uneasy. But none could deny the truth. They were alive because of her. As dawn broke, the battlefield lay quiet. The humans began rebuilding their camp, tending to their wounded, and burying their dead. But whispers spread like fire of the alien woman who defied her masters, who broke her chains, who fought alongside them. The commander stood at the edge of the camp watching the horizon. Beside him the woman rested, weak but free. "Why did you save me?" she asked softly. He answered without hesitation. "Because mercy is what makes us human, and it is what your people fear most." She closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks, not from sorrow, but from hope. For the first time she believed in a future not written in chains, and as the sun rose high, painting the sky with light, the war was not over, but something far greater had begun. A bond between species, born not from power or conquest, but from mercy. The galaxy would remember this night, the night when mercy became stronger than destruction.